Etymology and historical origin of the baby name Carlos. Carlos is the Spanish and Portuguese version of the French and English name Charles, which in turn comes from the Germanic word karl, meaning free man. Some etymological sources seem to suggest that the original word indicates a free man but not one of noble birth, which is ironic given the number of noble people that have borne the name throughout Europe for centuries. The name owes most of its popularity in Europe from medieval times thanks to the Frankish leader and the first Holy Roman Emperor Charlemagne. The name Charles was particularly popular among the Franks, who were a Western European Germanic tribe and big spreaders of Christianity in the Middle Ages. By the 15th century, the name was pretty well spread throughout Europe: Charles in England and France, Karl in Germany, Carlo in Italy, and Carlos in Spain and Portugal. In Spain, two kings bore the name Carlos in the 16th and 17th centuries. In Portugal, King Carlos I has the distinction of being the second to last king of Portugal before his assassination. Personality of the boy named Carlos. The number 5 personality loves the excitement of life and can easily adapt to all situations. Currently, Jose, Juan, Xavier, Luis, and Diego are the front-runners. Carlos is a charming, boyish name, and we wouldn't be surprised to see it cross over and gain more widespread success in coming decades. Quick facts on Carlos. Gender, boy. Origin, Spanish. Number of syllables, 2. Ranking popularity, 105. Pronunciation, Carlos. Simple meaning, free man. Characteristics of Carlos: adventurous, intellectual, progressive, freedom-loving, adaptable, easygoing, sensual. Cultural references to the baby name, Carlos. Literary characters of the baby name Carlos. Carlos is the overprotective father of the 4 daughters in Julia Alvarez's 1991 novel, How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents. For political reasons, the Garcia family is forced to flee to New York from the Dominican Republic and begin a new life. Carlos has difficulty accepting his lower position in society as he is forced to re-establish his medical profession while struggling to support his family in this new country. The daughters are maturing and assimilating into American culture while clashing with the old country customs and expectations. The girls clash with their father much in the same way that the two cultures are colliding in this coming-of-age story about acculturation. Popular songs on Carlos. A song by P. Jorn, Carlos, Don't Let It Go to Your Head, Carlos, Man of Love, a song by Rodney Carrington, Explicit, Carlos Rossi, a song by E40, Explicit, an opera by Giuseppe Verdi, Don Carlos. Famous people named Carlos. Carlos Zambrano, baseball player; Carlos Watson, journalist; Carlos Irwin Esta, copyright Vez, aka Charlie Sheen, actor; Carlos Ray Norris, aka Chuck Norris, martial artist/actor; Carlos Gardel, prominent figure in tango music; Carlos Gutierrez, politician/businessman; Carlos Santana, musician; Carlos Pena, Jr. singer/actor; Carlos Castaneda, author; Carlos Fuentes, author; Carlos Montoya, flamenco guitarist; Carlos Cavazo, guitarist in Quiet Riot; Carlos Mencia, comic/actor. Historic figures with the name Carlos. William Carlos Williams was a renowned modernist American poet who also just happened to be a general doctor and a pediatrician, who famously said he worked harder at the former than the latter. He lived, wrote, and practiced in New Jersey, and always felt the need for a specifically fresh American voice, in opposition to what he saw as a tired and elitist tradition from Great Britain and Europe. His many works earned several prizes, many posthumous, and are widely anthologized. He would very likely have had more fame as a poet if a certain Thomas Stearns Eliot hadn't published The Wasteland just a year before William's own seminal work, Spring and All. He was certainly enough of a modernist to recognize the value of young Allen Ginsberg, for whose Hell and other poems he wrote the introduction in 1956. Williams was a mentor and figure of respect to many of the BB poets of the period. Somehow one cannot imagine Mr. Eliot in that position. The story of Don Carlos is a tragic one. He was the eldest son of the King of Spain, but lost his mother a month after he was born. At one time he was betrothed to Elizabeth I of England. As a member of the royal house of Habsburg, Carlos may have been a victim of inbreeding, as was common among monarch families. This may have led to some of his physical and psychological ailments. When he was 17, Carlos fell down a flight of stairs. He recovered after surgery, but suffered enough of a head injury to cause a change in his behavior. Carlos became wild and erratic, apparently making threats and causing friction. His father eventually had the boy imprisoned and placed in solitary confinement. Don Carlos tragically died 6 months later, and his legend inspired a couple of great works of art. One was Friedrich Schiller's 18th century historic tragedy Eden Carlos, Infant von Spanien, which, in turn, inspired Giuseppe Verdi's 5-act grand opera, Eden Carlos.